The challenges of electricity production in Africa was a key focus at the ongoing 2024 World Bank and IMF annual meetings holding in the United States. An analytical conversation was held on Wednesday that addresses how Africa can leverage renewable energy to boost power generation and raise the collective GDP of the continent. Let's hear from these two officials of the IMF.
Where I focus on modeling the macroeconomic impacts of climate and energy policies. Today, we will discuss our work on how to harness renewable energy in sub-Saharan Africa. We will draw on results from a recent staff climate note that we wrote with several colleagues and is already available online for your reading. Now, we can all think of many reasons why access to reliable electricity is crucial. It powers businesses, it helps preserve and transport food to markets, it supports public health, or it enables studying after dark. Electricity makes life easier, and it is essential for economic activity to flourish. As you can see in this chart here, over the last 2 decades, per capita GDP has grown by more than 60% in sub-Saharan Africa. However, per capita electricity availability has not kept up with the rising incomes and has even declined in this period by close to 10%. Now, this represents a constraint on economic activity. With rising population and development needs, a rapid scaling up of electricity production is more important than ever for the region, and its success will depend on large part on the choices that we make today.
So let us take a look at how electricity is currently produced in the region. Of course, there are differences in the scale and the sources of electricity production across countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and hydropower plays a significant role in several areas. But the region has an exceptional solar and wind potential due to its geographical advantages. And despite this, the share of solar and wind power generation in the energy mix is less than half of the global average and is lower than in any other region, as you can see in this chart. In addition to this potential, the cost of wind and solar electricity has decreased dramatically over the last 15 years, to the point of now being comparable or even cheaper than fossil fuel alternatives. This presents a timely opportunity for sub-Saharan Africa to increase investment in this sector. Given these prospects, what are the main challenges that countries in sub-Saharan Africa encounter when it comes to increasing investment in renewable energy?
Financing remains one key issue. For scaling up investments in renewables, countries face the following choice: either mobilize domestic resources, find external financing sources, or use a mix of the two. Now, this brings us to the question, do different financing options vary in terms of their economic impacts? To answer this, we use an existing model that represents several regions of the global economy and their interlinkages with greenhouse gas emissions. We further refine the representation of sub-Saharan Africa and disaggregate it into several countries and regions to better capture its characteristics. Our results show that scaling up renewable energy production with investments financed entirely domestically increases annual GDP levels by 0.15% in sub-Saharan Africa relative to the scenario that reflects only existing policies. However, when investments are fully financed with external sources, the increase is 0.35%. Now, that is more than twice the impact. A balanced combination of both financing sources results in an increase of about 0.3%. So what explains the difference between the domestic and external financing options? In both cases, the resulting access to reliable electricity enhances the productivity of existing companies. But using external financing reduces the fiscal pressures in countries that are already working with limited fiscal space. Furthermore, it also allows for the use of domestic resources for investments in other sectors that will benefit from improved electricity availability, and this further boosts growth.
So you all know that the international community has pledged to provide each year $100 billion in climate finance to developing countries. Let us look further at the potential impact of external financing with an illustrative scenario. In this scenario, each country receives a share of total climate finance depending on how far its per capita emissions are from the global average. As a consequence, sub-Saharan Africa would receive in total about half of this $100 billion annually over the next decade. Then we assume that each country dedicates half of its allocation to the renewable energy sector. Our model shows that in this scenario, electricity production could rise by up to 24% compared to the scenario that reflects existing policies.